And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is Emilio Donnell and two Fulham legends. We have Rob Wilson and Tony Gale. In this episode, we're going to talk about Fulham season so far with our legends and Emilio as well. And later on, we're going to be getting some stories from our Fulham legends in the second half of the show. That should be fun. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. If you're watching live, feel free to share a question for Rob or Tony or even Emilio. Feel free to. But let's get started. First, over to you, Emilio. Unfortunately, Gordon wasn't able to join us. He's not feeling well, so he couldn't join us. He has no voice. I want to know what you did to him.
Probably complain that we won 3-1, knowing how Gordon thinks I'm so negative about Fulham. So, sorry to hear Gordon's not so well. He messaged this morning saying he's a little bit poorly. So, hopefully you'll be listening in and joining this good show tonight. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing the show as always with Rob and doing for the first time with Tony and talk all about Fulham. So, yeah, lots to cover off and hopefully we'll have some good entertainment. So, yeah, like you said, people who are watching us live, just drop questions into the chat and we'll endeavour to answer them during the course of the show tonight.
Okay, well, we already got one saying that it's an all-star cast from our friend Black, White, and Fred, and I agree with that. Rob, how you doing? As always, I always enjoy doing a show with you. How are you doing tonight? Looking forward to it?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, good evening, Russ, Emilio, and Gale. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's been a while since our last one. So, unfortunately, Gordon's not here, but I'm sure you'll get enough out of me, Tony, and Emilio to keep the punters happy.
I'm sure I will, my friend. I'm sure I will. Tony, welcome back to the show. You and I actually did a show, I don't know, about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I want to thank you for coming on, and I look forward to having you right now joining us. But before we do, please let everyone know about your book that came out recently, and I hope people are getting that book. That's entertainment. Let's talk a little bit about your book, and then we'll get into the show.
Well, I'm getting fed up of talking about the book. I've got to tell you, it came out on September the 1st. But it's the book about my life, and it's called. The title didn't come from me actually, because I had all different things, Gale False or Gale False 6, my number. But the book publication people reached, they suggested it because when we finished it, the author and I, there was so many good stories, we thought good and funny stories. They called it That's Entertainment. And it basically is the story of my life, which I don't think it's going to end just yet, hopefully, unless she comes back and does me in a minute when she's upstairs.
I got my copy a few weeks ago, and when I went to Spain last week, but I was there for 8 days, I finished it in a day just while I was lying on the sunbed. But whatever, 200 pages or whatever it was.
82,000 words. I can't believe you read that in a day.
Yeah, I did. I skipped through the 10 years at West Ham. I only read the Fulham bit.
You was just looking for the mentions on you, weren't you?
There was quite a few. Yeah. Especially the yellow capri.
There you go. Okay. Well, guys, let's get to it. Tony, I'm actually going to start with you. Before we talk about the season so far, I thought it would be interesting to actually talk about the last match because you were actually commentating on the last match. So let's actually talk about, I would say, a pivotal victory for Fulham. You and I were talking about this before we went live, how important it was. And I want to get your thoughts on the match. Then I'll go to Rob and Emilio about that match against Sheffield United. A huge 3 points.
Yeah, huge. I thought it was a must-win 3 points. I said that before the game because I'd seen them the week previous, commentated on the game against West Ham. And West Ham, after going 2 up, sort of won in a bit of a second gear against them. And, Sheffield United didn't really have much of a threat. They'd lost the week previous 8-0 to Newcastle. So everybody was expecting like cricket scores, the same as when Fulham played them as well. But it's not that easy. The Premier League's not that easy to break teams down. And I've got every respect for the manager, Paul Heckingbottom. He really does come out in the press afterwards, despite having a bad time, despite having no money in the transfer market. He faces up to things. I think there was quite a few things in the game. I mean, the horrific leg injury to Chris Basham, first of all. I don't think I've commentated on a game when I've seen such an horrific injury.
Wow.
And I've seen the slow motion replays of it quite a few times. And honestly, I don't want to even describe it to you boys. It was that bad. But there was a silence in the corner of the ground behind the goal and in the Johnny Haynes stand where he went over. And Tim Ream, who closed him down on the ball as well, realised straight away what he'd done. And fortunately, they got him off the pitch. The ambulance came in on the corner there, got him away. And to his credit, he must have been in such pain. He gave the thumbs up to the Fulham crowd for the show of appreciation. I just thought it was a great moment in football. Everybody realised there was a hush around the ground. 13 minutes he was down before they got him off the pitch. But going back to the game, I mean, Fulham went 1-up, went 1-1, and then Tom gets the luckiest goal he'll ever score in his life. Chips it, so-called. He'll say he meant it. Well, it weren't his goal, actually. It was an own goal, wasn't it? It sort of left foot onto right foot. Normally, when you slip like that, the ball goes nowhere, but it just added to a crazy loop on the ball, and that caused the goal. And then the third goal was Willian. I mean, I love Willian. I think he's different class, different gear. And when Tom comes on, especially, he does link up well with Willian. They got that kind of telepathy or rapport with each other that good players have, in those tight situations. But they were good. Fulham were okay. Fulham played better against Sheffield United than West Ham did. That's how I compare it from the 2 weeks, because I'm doing the games all the time. Fulham looked like they would score more goals than West Ham did. But, that they did get one more goal, but they still struggled, didn't they? They still struggled because they didn't have that striker. But the De Cordova-Reid goal was
it's great.
Top goal. I love it when a passing move. We played. Rob and I were lucky to play in a good passing team, and we scored loads. Well, Rob did. I didn't score many, but we scored loads of goals like that. But where it starts at the back, pop, 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 3 passes into Vinicius. He did something right for a change. He held it up, turned it around the corner. Pereira, great ball. De Cordova-Reid puts it home. That was a great goal. Great goal. So Fulham, overall performance, I thought it was pretty good. I would go 8 out of 10.
Wow, 8 out of 10. Rob, your thoughts on the game, and then I'll go to Emilio.
Yeah, I was a bit worried at halftime, and obviously we had William had the chance, which I think he should have scored. First half, he kept it. He probably should have kept it a bit lower in the corner, and then just right on halftime, Pereira had a good chance, sort of half sort of stumbling and sort of blazed it over the bar. I was a bit concerned at halftime. I thought, are they just going to just sit in? And we didn't look like breaking them down too regular. And obviously, once it changes, when Tom comes on, we look a different side. I think his ball retention is fantastic, and he starts to probe a little bit more. Always, as Tony says, on the left-hand side, because he plays left of that side of the midfield. He seems to link up well with it. And yeah, I mean, fortunate. The first goal was fantastic, as Tony alluded to. Their goal was again a bit of a fluke, and I thought, oh God, 76 minutes, and we're gonna turn it around in this last 14. And obviously, then we went on to Tom getting the fluke goal as it was, and then Williams is just finishing it off with a nice sort of thunderous shot that the keeper probably couldn't hold on to. So 3-1 probably flattered us. I would have said 2-1 would probably been a fair result. And again, as Tony said, I think after the injury, there seemed to be a lull in all players. I just thought, I felt watching it. I felt sick. I was watching it on Fire Stick, and I've only seen it once as I spoke to Tony the other day on it. I couldn't watch it again. I've seen, and I don't know why some Fulham fans put it on Twitter or Facebook, a still photo of it. I just can't watch it. It just doesn't sit right with me. Luckily, I've seen today, I've seen on Twitter, Chris has had his second operation. Yeah, he's had it he's had the first bit done early on in the week, and then he's had it set now. So he's hoping to leave London in the next couple of days. And we're talking to Tony talking to Johnny Vaughan last night. Remember the goalkeeper at Fulham? Yeah, he was. I went to watch a non-league game last night, and he's academy goalkeeping coach at Sheffield United, and a young keeper were playing for a team near me, Penistone against Emily. And I was speaking to John last night, and he was saying that, all the lads were still a little bit down after the injury, even coming back after this week. It's still a bit of a will he come back from it, with his age, etc., etc. So they've had a tough couple of weeks with the young girl dying a couple of weeks ago who worked in the community. Sheffield United, they've had the 8-0, then they had the death of the ladies player. So yeah, and as Tony spoke about there, Paul, he's been around the block, and he voiced his opinion in the media the other week about some decisions, and I just hope that their board and their owners stick with him, because he is a fantastic coach.
Thank you for saying that, Rob. I don't hope you don't mind. I'm going to be cutting in because I don't want them to sack Paul Heckenbottom. I think he should be the manager the entire season, especially if they're going to be going down. This is a quality manager. He's not been given really a full squad to compete in the Premier League. I don't think it's his fault. I hope they don't sack him, Rob.
Yeah. Well, he signed a 4-year deal probably last year when they were going for championship, which contracts don't mean anything in this day and age. The owners have been trying to sell the club for many, many years now, so you just never know what's around the corner. But hopefully he is purely as a good coach, and he's been there and done it with youngsters and academy and bringing kids through. And like you say, he's not had the tools to really justify having a go this season. And everyone will say them and Luton will probably struggle to get X amount of points between them, but Luton probably more equipped than Sheffield United at the moment in terms of grabbing points at home or away. So, but yeah, going back to Fulham, it was a much needed win going into the break. Hopefully our lads go off and have an international break and come back with no injuries, and then we get straight back into it with Brighton once we're back in Premiership fixtures.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Rob. Over to you, Emilio. Thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to say, Varney, wasn't he? He was our keeper in that horrible Anfield Cup game, wasn't he, Robbo? I think he was, wasn't he?
What, sorry?
Varney, wasn't he our goalkeeper in that horrific game at Anfield all those years ago? Wasn't he? Goal?
Yeah, he probably was. Yeah, I wasn't there then, but yeah.
He was with me at West Ham as well. Yeah.
Was it West Ham as well? I don't remember it in West Ham, but yeah, that was anyway, let's talk some better things than that horrific defeat. Yeah, I was the incident happened right in front of me, Tony. So I'm in the sort of block B of the Johnny Haynes stand, so right in that corner. You're right, it was dead silence. It was an innocuous challenge, went for a corner, but guys around me said, what did we just hear there? Just because it was a delayed reaction. 1 minute he was on the floor, a few seconds later, absolute agony, and it just looks excruciating. And fair play to Tim Ream to immediately call the bench for some support. But that game had a bit of everything. He had the horrific injury. Don't forget, Diop caught a knock that game, 2 own goals, a fluke goal, whatever you want to call it. Overall, we were full value for the victory. I thought we were technically a much better team than Sheffield United. I thought, you said 3-1 flat. I actually think we deserved to win 3-1. If anything, I agree. Yeah, if we had a bit more composure in the box. I think the final ball is not good enough. That's what's been consistent all season. I know we blame Jimenez for not being with it or not being prolific, but in his defence, I don't think we're giving enough service. Our final ball in the box is not good enough at times. It's predictable. Doesn't always get the first man from corners and set play. We've got to improve on that. And last season we had Pereira and William both firing on all cylinders. And if either of them or both of them are not on their game, we're lacking quality, width, the distribution. So I think Jimenez does get a bit of a harsh time from the fans. Yes, he's going to be measured on his goal scoring ratio, but if he's not getting any service, it's hard for him to see how he's going to score any goals. But aside from that, I thought we were good value. Sheffield were poor. We could have probably won by more if we had a little bit. There were moments of good movement. There was a lot of positives to take from that. And we had to respond after that Chelsea game where I thought we were poor. That was probably our worst Premier League performance in a level pegging with the Arsenal game at home last season. We created nothing. We gave them too much respect. And Chelsea, were barely out of first gear second half. I know we played better second half, but Chelsea didn't have to break any sweat. So we put that game behind us, and we needed to get those 3 points. And what we got, 11 points going into the international break. I think we would have all taken that before the start of the season. So not bad. We've got those must-win games against Luton and Sheffield in our account, beating Everton away. So that's what's going to define our season, beating the teams around us. And if we can avoid defeat against those, I think we should be okay. I don't see why not, even though we haven't got a prolific striker at the moment.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But Tony, I'm going to go to you.
Can I just say one thing, Russ?
Absolutely, Tony.
What I have noticed from last season, it's not as quick. Fulham's play is not as quick as last season. Yeah. And that was I think Emilio said there, like that was evident in that Chelsea game. Never really got out.
No,
I mean,
no.
they're a bunch of kids, Chelsea. Really, you needed to get amongst them, make a few tackles. You know, we had the team to do that. Make it fast, make it quick, put them under pressure. But no, it wasn't. And then if I've got a criticism in the last 2 games, it's been a bit slow, the passing, particularly between the centre-backs, Ream and Diop. They see in part, you know, being a centre-back myself, you can see a pass in there. If you see it, do it. Don't go, oh, no, I'm not quite sure. I'll go back to Leno. We'll go back out the other side to Ream. We'll come across again. You know, and in the end, things close down. And I think that's where Jimenez is having a little bit of problems because they're not moving it as quickly as they was last season. Definitely for me.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a great point. It's a great
I think
point.
you're right there, Tony. You look at the mistakes Ream and Diop have made from the back. You know, they try and see a pass, it's not on, or they think it's Jane. And they've been, I mean, look at the 2 goals Ream was involved in, and Diop, you know, he's got one of them in his locker every game.
Every game.
He just seems to have a lax pass. His body language, the way he plays. And Ream's the same. Ream was at fault for both goals. And then he would gesticulating to someone about the pass. And then he ended up giving the second goal away, trying to make up for his. So, yeah, I think the pair of them have got that in their armour, you know, when they look and they keep passing. And then, you know what I mean? The midfield players are probably making a move, or the striker, Jimenez, is probably showing. But like you say, I think you're right in what you say, Tony. I think it's nowhere near as quick as it was last season. And that's unusual for Marco's teams because he usually wants to be on the front foot from the first whistle.
I think what's happened as well, guys, just to say, like teams cotton on to you as well.
Yeah.
You know, so they cotton on to the way that you play. So they say, let the centre-backs have it. Let them have it. And you funnel them down one side if you're in the opposition, just as we did in our days. It's not rocket science. You let the lesser player have it and you try and funnel it down one side. Teams used to say, block me off, didn't they? Let Roger have it and he would pump it up in the stand, you know. But what I'm saying, those 2 boys have done particularly well, I think. I wouldn't criticise them too much and don't be afraid to make a mistake. And I think Marco Silva's good at that because he doesn't mind his team and his players making mistakes because he wants them to play the way that he plays. And I love it. I'd love to have played in his teams. I think they're terrific. So we can't get on them too much. They will make mistakes, but I think if I was them or I was coaching them, I would say, do it quicker. And if you're going to give it away going forward, not sideways or backwards. Don't do that. Don't turn back. I think I would be horrified if I thought the goalkeeper was a better passer of the ball than me. I would never give it back to a goalkeeper nowadays. I'd want to play. But
unless you're Allison or Man City keeper.
No, I wouldn't give it to Stannard or Jerry Payton. I wouldn't give it to him.
But also Leno, you're noticing Leno's distribution slower as well. Normally he was quick moving the ball out last season, but this time it's maybe there's lack of confidence in the centre back, so he's trying to play a little bit more conservative. I'm not seeing him distributing the ball quickly out to play to his fullbacks. Again, that's what you're saying, Tony. Is
what they're doing also, Emilio, because I've got a real good vantage point. I'm up the top of the Riverside stand, the new stand. That's where I commentate from. So it's just to tell you, lads, it's a brilliant view. There's no better view in the Premier League. You got the whole of West London over the top of the Stevenage Road stand, and you've probably got the best view you've ever had because stands keep improving by the year. Spurs, I thought, was a great new stand. West Ham's too far away, but Fulham is nice and steep, and you're on the play. Great view for me, and you can see that they're doing a press on us now, so they're pressing in. But then Leno's got to drop it in quicker to Jimenez, and Jimenez, of course, has got to hold it up. Like I thought, Mitrovic was slightly better than Jimenez at holding the ball up that was dropped into him from a goalkeeper. So they got to look to that ball. And then when that doesn't come off now and again, then teams drop off. But they can look into the striker a bit more for me. And, you know, if he does win it, Rob says he's good in the air and he's won a few headers, you know, you'll get a few flick-ons now and again. There's no harm in scoring an horrible goal, is there, really?
Yeah.
No, that's very good information. Rob, before we move on from this, because I actually watched an interesting video from the Chelsea match with Robbie Mustoe and Danny Higginbotham. We're looking at the matchup, and they were talking about how Chelsea beat Fulham, and they were focusing on Paulinho and the man marking that Conor Gallagher. They gave Conor Gallagher the credit for controlling the game. They were showing the passing. What Tony was also saying, they were very slow, the passing to Paulinho, but also moving the ball around. What are your thoughts about Paulinho in that Chelsea match? I hate to go back to that, but when I saw the video, it was kind of glaring that he was being marked out of the match.
Yeah. They played between the lines very quickly in that first 20, 25 minutes. And like you say, Gallagher was key to instrument that middle of the park to sort of stifle Paulinho, because he knew where he plays at the tip of where he did. He just looked off it. I don't think he had much help in and around him on the night, because as we said, we were 2 down after 18 minutes. I think they sort of just stifled us, but they were just getting in between the lines, and they just seemed to be massive gaps, which there hasn't been too many times this season. In between our back four and the strikers, he just seemed to be isolated on his own a few times. I think Pereira, and I can't think who else was playing alongside him. Was it Harrison probably along? We just seemed to be overrunning there, but it was only 3 against 3. But they looked like they had much more time on the ball and much more space when it was slid into them. And I mean, I love Gallagher. I think he's an absolute, real good player, and I'm glad he's getting his running inside now. I really like him. He's no nonsense. He's very methodical in what he does. He can get forward. He can put his foot in. He makes them play, and he just seemed to be the kingpin for them on the night, as well as all the other players in and around him that seemed to stifle us. But it was unusual for Paulinho, because he's usually our sort of main captain without the armband, in terms of trying to stop them attacks that are coming in between. But I think it was just a bad day at the office, I think, for everyone on the night that night.
Okay. If you look at that game again, Rob, I'd go slightly the other way. I know Conor Gallagher's, I say he's a good player, but the two boys in midfield, Fernandes and Caicedo, they cost 200 million between them. 200 million. So you're going to have a problem in there, aren't you? Those two dictated the game for me. Gallagher was the runner. He was just running about and closing people down. But those two on the ball were different class. Half turn, popping it into each other, turning it round the corners. Gallagher, for me, is the workhorse. That's what Conor does. He's a workhorse. Good player, very good player, but not in the kind of league that makes things happen like the other two. And that's where they dictated, because they were getting it out their back four pretty quick, and they had the spare man. Paulinho, for me, he wasn't at it. I'd have kicked him up the arse at half time and said, "Look, I know your transfer ain't come off, but you've got to. If you're not making tackles, you're no good to us." Because he ain't great on the ball. He's not great, is he, Paulinho, on the ball? He's a good player, but where they want him, he's breaking things up. And it wasn't to the second half. Someone must have had a go at him at half time that he started making tackles for me. Sorry to interrupt there, Rob.
That was the thing then. That was my biggest observation of that game. Forget the fact that we gave Chelsea too much respect and they coasted the game, but not once. People who know me well, I always focus on body language, people's appearances on the pitch, the way, I sort of focus a lot on that. He no communications with his players in the whole 90 minutes. Normally you're 2-0 down, you get corners, he kisses the badge, rouses up the crowd, get a bit more support. He did nothing. He felt like he came in, got paid to do a job and went home, just like on a bad day. But normally you show a bit more passion, a little bit more desire. Even last year when the chips were down, he was still motivating the crowd and trying to draw the players and giving them a bit of motivation. He did nothing the whole game. And so something's not quite right there. I know he clearly wanted to move to Bayern Munich. It didn't happen, but there's better signs against Sheffield United. I thought he was a little bit got more stuck in, showed more what he's capable of doing, but he's a shadow of his former self. From what we were used to last season to what he is now, he seems like a different player. Now, like I said, if money's turning his head, fair enough, but that Chelsea game was very worrying because he just literally he wasn't at the races and he didn't want to be on that pitch very, very clearly. For those, and like you said, Tony, you're there yourself, Rob, you're there. It's something not quite right there. And you want your players not to do a job and do it to their best ability rather than just taking a paycheck and going home, which is what it felt like he was doing in that whole game.
And people also, I'd say cotton on to you as well. That, his first season, he was great, wasn't he? Paulinho, Pereira, terrific players. But they both are not on song at the moment, I would say. But teams make it difficult for you. I mean, if you go into a team meeting now, it's not all about what we're going to do with the ball. It's how we're going to stop the opposition. So everything in football now, with all this, they're all up in the stands with me, all the boys on the pro zones and the heat lamps and tracers, and God, it drove me mad. Paralysis by analysis, I would have called it. But what they know now is how do you stop Fulham? Well, this is how you stop Fulham. Palhinha does this, Harrison Reed does that, Herrera does this, and they've got to find another way. And I trust Marco Silva. I think he's a great coach. I'd love to have played for him, so it's going to be interesting.
Okay, excellent stuff. Great analysis of both the Chelsea match and the Sheffield United match. But Tony, I'll go right back to you because, again, let's just talk briefly about the season so far for Fulham. As Emilio mentioned, I've mentioned, where they are right now is not so terrible. But is this where you thought they would be at this point in the season?
Well, I think the Mitro thing was a bit of a bombshell, wasn't it? And I think Marco Silva tried to disguise the fact that he must have been absolutely gutted that, they just got someone in the door right at the end, and it was Jimenez, and didn't get the time. Maybe they should have spent the time, maybe studying and thinking that Mitro would go. But once that player decides he wants to go, I know he said he was down in tools and all that on tour and everything. But once he was always going to go, it was always about Fulham getting the right amount of money for him. So that's cost them dearly. It really is difficult when you take, say, West Ham, take Antonio out the side. He's not the greatest centre forward, but that's all they've got. So that would be a big blow. You take any centre forward out of any team, and it is a massive blow. But this blow in particular, because of the way he is and the charismatic figure that he was, and the leader that he was, and I know he got sent off a couple of times and everything, but he was always up the front, wasn't he? He was always fighting. He was always involved. That they've missed that. It might have been Mitro in that Chelsea game, for instance, who gave a centre half a dig. Then it's all a bit of a change, isn't it? Then everybody else reacts off of that. Yeah. So that's been the big key for me. But I think where they are at the moment, I think they've done well. They've done well. 2 weeks now. Settle down, have a look at things, start planning, getting a centre forward maybe in January, which isn't going to be easy because it's not the time to buy. And then go from there. But, I don't see any problems in staying in the Premier League for them. I really don't. The teams I see regular, they're Fulham and nowhere near going down. It's still a good side.
Thank you for that, Tony. And I'm glad that you mentioned it because you get to see all the sides. So you really get to see the Premier League clubs. You know where Fulham are at this point. Emilio, I'll go to you. Your thoughts on the season so far, and then I'll go to Rob.
Yeah, I think, like I said before, we would have all taken mid-table before the international break. The key thing, like I said earlier, it's winning those games around you, not the Chelseas, not the Arsenals. The fact that we grind out a great result at Arsenal to get that point, put the Chelsea game behind. We've won the three important games we won, and to be honest, we had a better strike. I think we would have beaten Palace away. We had enough chances to win that game, so that was 2 points dropped. And then there's been a couple other games where I think maybe we could have got more out of it. The Brentford game, wasn't a fair reflection of the game. 1-0, we hit the bar to go 1-1. Next minute, incident, sending off, and Brentford get the 3 goals to win. So that could have been a different story at the end of the day. So I think I'd have taken 11 points. I know we've got a difficult run-in coming up. We've got 4 tough games, but there's no reason why we can't go to Brighton. Brighton are not all that as well. I think Brighton getting a lot more credit than they deserve. They're conceding a hell of a lot of goals, and it's a shame that we haven't got a striker can capitalise on that. But I think we can get something at Brighton. Don't be surprised if we go there and turn them over again. And Man United won't fancy coming to the Cottage, but again, it's just getting up for these games and showing a little bit more passion, a little bit more energy. But I'm happy to take the 11 points. And Burnley, to be honest, are getting a lot of press, but their performances are substandard. Sheffield United, we've talked about. Luton, for their hard endeavour and fight, I don't think they're good enough to stay up. And you've got Bournemouth, you've got Wolves, you've got Everton, even Palace are in the mix with us. So there's a lot of similar things, but I think there's definitely 3 worse teams, if not more. So I think we should be okay. But December's going to be tested. I looked the other day. There's 8 league games in December. So that's going to be tough. But there's enough games and enough points that we can grab and just push on. But 11 points is not a bad return, to be honest. I'm very happy.
Okay. How about you, Rob? Your thoughts on the season so far?
Yeah, as the guys have alluded to, yeah, I think 11 points of where we're at, probably what I would have expected. It was always going to be difficult to follow on from last season, and as we've talked about, many teams are not as good as they were last year. Emilio just mentioned Brighton; they're nowhere near as strong as they were. They've lost a few key players, as we have done. So yeah, it's 11 points in terms of we're sitting going into, and I'm like Emilio. I looked at the 8 games in December, which, you look at our squad. We haven't got an in-depth squad. We've got a few places where, we've got overrun with a few midfield players or whatever. But, strike-wise going forward and defensively, 2 centre-halves, if one of them get injured, Bassey's, we paid, 20 million for him, and he's not got a look in yet. So, I'm not sure whether I still think we'll need to get 2 or 3 in January, and the striker being one of them, to put some kind of pressure on Jimenez if Vinicius or Muniz, which I don't think either of them are good enough to be a stalwart number 9 striker to play for Fulham. They're just not good enough. I think they're championship at best. So yeah, I'm happy that we've got 11 points. We need to beat the teams in and around us. I think it's going to be difficult to reach the last year's sort of heights of where we finished in points total. And like Emilio said, I think there's at least 4 or 5 teams going to be worse off than us this season. But we still need to put a run of points and wins and good performances together to get that confidence back, to make sure that they make games in December where he will probably rotate the squad. Right. If we're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, whatever, they're all going to be needed. So hopefully we stay away from injuries, and we can pick enough points out of them, sort of 24 points, to make sure that we go into January with a healthy target.
Okay. Play the same side, I would say. Like Roy Hodgson had their best ever season at Fulham. Hardly ever changed that team that season.
Yeah.
Hardly ever changed the team. And then you all, when we played in decent sides, you could probably name the 11, and now and again someone came in. But if you got that same team and you're doing okay, then the results will come. 8 games in December, piece of cake. You're having a laugh. Piece of cake.
Oh. Yeah, just think of the appearance money, Gale. Just think of the appearance money.
Yeah, all them win bonuses, Emilio?
Okay, very good. Guys, real quick, Rob,
get the wife a new Gucci bag for Christmas, huh?
No, she don't have all that.
Rob, here's a question from Black, White, and Fred. With Mitro still in the team, we would be top 6. I don't think we'd be top 6 even with Mitro.
No, because the players are. I know we're missing Mitro, and lots of the players are not in good form week in, week out. But I think the division's a lot different this season. The Premiership is a lot different than last year. You can see with even Man City dropping points already. They've already dropped points that they never would have dropped, and Brighton are not as strong as they would be. So, and look at Man United. So Liverpool, they're all. The Premiership this year is a bit like the Championship may have been a few seasons ago, where everyone can beat everyone. You know what I mean? So don't surprise me if Luton end up getting a result against one of the top 6 at one point. Sheffield United will probably win a few games, and they might get the odd sneaky result against one of the big top 6. It may be a fluke, but it's a different division this year than last year. So you can't sort of, even with the missing of individual players in each and every one's sides.
I think at the bottom though, Rob, you're saying at the top it's beating each other, but the bottom, the promoted 3 sides, Bournemouth, Wolves, Everton, not good teams. No. So that's 6 teams that Fulham are better than at least.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace, they got injuries. All their strikers are out. Eze's out. Elise's out. No wide players at the moment. So Roy's trying to chisel out results. Everyone's going to have it. So I think, you can't say, blame anything. If you've got injuries, you just got to get on with it. Right. Get on with it. Don't give players excuses. Get on with it. Fulham will be fine. Boys, I'm getting the ump with you lot here. Boy, Fulham are going to be fine.
Okay. Well, Tony, one final topic about the season, and then we're going to get some information from you guys. I want some stories. Before we do that, I want to go back to you, Tony, I want to talk about the summer transfer window. I've been kind of, let's just say, I don't want to sound like a downer, but I'm a very positive person. I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted them to find that striker to replace Mitro. And I also wanted them to really kick on and really upgrade the club. I thought this was an opportunity this summer. Of course, you have the situation with Mitro. You have the situation with Paulinho. Overall, what were your thoughts of Fulham's business in the summer transfer window?
The transfer market is the most difficult place to be in at the moment. My other side, West Ham, for instance, they've picked up 3 players right at the end of the transfer. Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse, and Kudus from Ajax. They picked them up at the end, but their own Alvarez is your Paulinho, for instance. They're a matchup. Kudus might be like Pereira, but it's so difficult to get players that Fulham have had a good season last season, but you guys wouldn't have been really happy unless you got, a centre forward. Let's take that out of the equation. But it's difficult to better the players that they've got, I think, unless you are spending really big money. Where I think they might have missed the trick is gone for some young uns, some like 10 mils, 15 mils, little punt in the transfer market, as if to say, we might bring this kid on. He might be a decent player. Do you know what I mean? Rather than going for a 50 million, a 60 million. Look how much Paulinho's worth now.
Right.
He's worth a fortune, isn't he? Mitrovic's worth a fortune. All the prices of the Fulham players have gone up since they've come up, so to speak. And it's difficult. It's a difficult place to do. They had it off last season, Fulham, in the transfer market. And it was a tough act to follow that again. A real tough act. So it'd be interesting, though, January, because I think they'll go again, Fulham. I really do. The owner puts his money where his mouth is, doesn't he? He puts the money in, and I think they'll go again with 1 or 2 signings at least.
Okay, excellent. Over to you, Emilio. Your thoughts on the summer transfer window?
Look, again, I think put aside the Mitrovic and Paulinho situation, but it felt like 1 minute we've been linked with so many players and going for a medical, then it was off, then another medical. Like Hudson-Odoi, that went on for about 3 months, that discussion. Do we get him doing that? I think that, to Tony's point, he's still young. For 6 to 8 million quid is probably worth a punt. He's a 22-year-old lad, still got a lot of potential there. And Marco Silva would have been the best coach, but no, he decided to go Nottingham Forest. I'm no disrespect to them, but he's gone from Chelsea to Forest. Why wasn't Fulham an attractive proposition to him? So it's just, there's a lot of speculation, but we did some decent business. I think Bassi is going to come good. I think,
I think
he's going to. So I'm looking. I want to see him get a run in the team. He's going to get that now with Diop's injury. So we'll probably see him back starting in a couple of weeks. Castaña's has started quite promisingly. I think I like the look all I get. More safety first, a little bit more conservative than Tete. Slightly different play. I think Castaña's getting a lot of the ball against Chelsea second half. He's getting forward quite a lot, but that final ball in the box just not good enough. It was just couldn't beat the first man. But he had a lot of possession, but he's a tidy player, and I think he's given us more depth and strength in that defense. So there's been some shrewd signings, but we all expect more, don't we, Russ? I think, like you've always said, we could have pushed on. There was an opportunity, but there were players that, like Ward-Prowse. I would have liked to see Ward-Prowse, West Ham. 30 million. You know what you're going to get with him. You're going to get goals. You're going to get assists. He might be limited in his overall ability, but goals is going to get you points. Assists is going to get you points. You've got a penalty taker there. We missed a trick there. He's a player. Look, he's done wonders so far at West Ham. He's their best player. Assists he got so far. So, could have taken more gambles, but what we don't know is it Marco Silva not getting the players he wanted, or did Tony Khan and the board listen to Marco Silva and all of his requests? We don't know. We'll never know that. But as far as I'm concerned, maybe Marco Silva maybe had more influence in some of these decisions than we think. So I think let's not always blame the board for who we didn't buy and what we didn't do. But there've been some shrewd signings. But I agree with Tony's point. The fact we've got a really aging squad is a worry. So if it's not investment this year, there needs to be some investment next year for sure if we stay up. So look,
absolutely,
we're going to stay up, and the owners are going to put money in their pocket and start rebuilding this team for the next generation, because we've got too many. Can't keep relying on these 30-plus-year-olds. We need to start bringing youth through.
Totally agree. Over to you, Rob. Your thoughts on the summer transfer window? I think both Tony and Emilio really gave some good commentary on it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, typical Fulham. We left everything to last minute. Immaterial whether Mitro. We all knew Mitro when he boarded that plane or was pushed on it to go to America that he wouldn't be coming back. So, we had 2 weeks to look at that, and they must have had a strategy of plan A, B, and C who they might go after. So I think it was key not getting a number one striker, and I don't think Jimenez was the marquee signing that I wanted to see coming into the club based on his previous history. Yes, he was a good player, but we all saw him at the back end of his career at Wolves and wherever he went after that he wasn't the same player. So yeah, we were over flush with. I'd have liked to have seen a couple of more bodies come in. Definitely another centre half. I think you're right what you're saying. Bassey's come in late, not really got a chance yet, but I think he should get it now. I'd like to have seen another left back. I know Robinson's there for long haul now. He signed a 5-year deal, but honestly, he couldn't cross the road. He's doing things. His crossing is no better now than it was 3 years ago. And it frustrates the life out of me every time.
Rob, I still don't understand that. How could you not improve that?
I don't know what he does, because I watch him in the warm-up do crossing exercises, and he does exactly the same in a game what he does in the warm-up. So I honestly don't know what they do midweek coaching him, because he just makes the same mistakes every time he gets in the final third. And he gets in some unbelievable positions with his pace. I love him as a player, and I think he's improved immensely over the last sort of 18 months defensively. But I'm sure we should fine-tune his final third deliveries or his passes, his body language sometimes. He just seems to get frustrated with himself. But, yeah, I mean, and again, Emilio touched on there. I think Castagna, he seems to be getting forward, as you say, against Chelsea and Sheffield United. He's getting in there. I love Tete when he's playing. I think he's been a godsend the last sort of 12, 18 months. And I think he was really settled his position there before he got injured. And, this lad's come in and obviously can play right or left back. But, yeah, he's been a worthwhile addition. And again, I would like to have seen and possibly another centre half, because, as I say, I don't think Ream could have had the same season as he would have had last season. And it's already proved that with a few mistakes he's made in, game out. And, as much as we all probably thought he wouldn't be able to do it for another year, 35, 36, I think probably after Christmas, we'll probably see less of Tim Ream, I think. I think if Bassey gets in there and probably plays left side centre-half, and if the up stays, obviously comes back from his injury, I think them two could be the focal point for the second half of the season when we get into January.
Okay. That might be a small problem, actually, with the two centre-backs, Ream and Bassey now. They're two left-footers.
Yeah.
You don't often get two left-footers as centre-backs, and it kind of narrows your play down as well, because the ball gets rolled out frequently by Leno, one side or the other. Someone's going to be on their wrong foot. So Harry Maguire slows play down immeasurably, because he plays on the left side of centre-back, and he just goes one way. He can't go the other way. If I played there, I tended to play off the outside of my foot, which was, that was my left foot, really, the outside of my right. But they don't really do that now. So the boys, the two left-sided central defenders, because they get so much ball, the central defenders, it's going to be interesting to see how they get it out the back, because Tim loves playing on the left. Bassey would like playing on the left as well, I think. Right. So you don't often get that. Rob, I can't remember two left-footed central defenders playing together and I do loads of games. I can't remember two left-footed central defenders.
Maybe Lockie and Lurch.
Lurch weren't in the first team.
He might be listening in.
That's why I said it.
Okay, excellent stuff. Boy, this has been so much fun, Emilio. Now we're going to get to really have some more fun, because now coming up next, we're going to get some stories from our Fulham legends to end the show. Okay, guys, let's get to it. Tony, thank you so much for joining us on this show, and I really appreciate you coming on earlier, about a month ago. But I want to get your thoughts. You actually shared some wonderful stories. I want you to get first crack at this. Give me a story about Rob and Gordon.
Oh, Rob and Gordon. I can't repeat Rob's ones because he was my room partner, so I can't repeat it. So No, Golden was, his nickname was While You're There. Everybody know, well, either, but While You're There, because he was always behind you at the bar and he'd always tap you on the back as you was getting a drink and he'd go, "Oh, while you're there, can you get us a," so I nicknamed him While You're There. So, he's a great lad, Gordon. Really good, great striker. A good Gordon Davis story, which is a great one for Fulham fans. And it's a bizarre, first games of the season are normally a nightmare. We played one season. Our first game of the season was away at Birmingham City. Rob might not have played in that. It might be before you, Rob. Played at Birmingham City away, and we're losing 3-0 at half time.
Oh, yeah.
3-0. Baking hot day. They're a bully boy team. Mickey Arthur, Mark Dennis, Noel Blake, like really bully boy team. And they battered us. And 3 could have been 6. Could have been 6-0. Anyway, we get in at half time. Bobby Campbell, who I loved because he gave me my big chance at Fulham, and I love him forever for that. And the way he was with me, came in, and as Rob will tell you, he used to have this temper fits, and he didn't know what to say. There was teacups flying, everybody ducking. Don't worry about David Beckham getting a boot off Fergie. There was kettles going in the room, everything. You lot are useless. I can't believe you've let me down. We've worked all pre-season. We've done this. We've done that. We've worked out pattern of play. You get out there. You show yourselves up. You're useless. What's happened? You're not only just showing yourselves up. You're showing me up. You're showing the families out here who come. And more importantly, the supporters. I don't know what to say. Just get out there and play second half. We won 4-3. We won 4-3. Gordon Davis got hat-trick. And to this day, that was the most bizarre. I don't think I've seen an opening game like it. And afterwards, "Oh, you were great, lads. Well done." "Oh, yeah. Well played, Gale. Well played, strongly. Yeah. That was mad. It went from the lowest point ever to the highest point ever. I don't know if you remember that, Emilio. You might.
I do remember that game. Yeah, I do remember it. And then some of the memories. I also remember was the other way. Was it Barnsley? We were 3 up against Barnsley and lost 4-3 in Oakwell. Was that the 80? That was 82-83, wasn't it?
Yeah, I played in that Barnsley. Yeah, that was first away game, I think, or in August. It definitely.
That was a right horrible night. That wasn't it? As I can recall. Yeah.
Yeah, was it that game away?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Did you go to that game then, Emilio? When we lost, we won 4-3. Sorry.
When we not the Birmingham, I went to the Oakwell game with the 4-3 at Oakwell.
So you are really negative. I knew that you were going to say that. You didn't go to the win. You went to the defeat. I can't believe it. Okay?
I remember some of those games.
Gordon's right about you.
Those 82-83. I remember I was in those days. I was going 1 minute. I was going in the Putney end. And I was going in the enclosure. I get rotating, and because I was so short, I still am a short little gits. I was behind the hammy, and I was just sit on the white bars, the metal bars.
Yeah.
And every time I'm trying to work, I was trying to struggle to see behind the goal. But those days you could just wander in, turn up at 2:59, walk in the hammy end or Putney end, wherever it was, enclosure a few times. So, but that season was fantastic. The fact that we're that bloody close to getting promotion. What went wrong? What went wrong?
It was Robert's fault. He dried up with all the goals.
Gailey's bum got in the way against Leicester when Ian Wilson hit it.
I remember that.
I don't think I got it all in the way though, did I? I should have got it all in the way. Yeah. No, it was a great season. In all honesty, Emilio, I think when you look back at it now, probably the pitches slowed us up at the end because when you had like kind of 3 seasons in one when you played in football in those days. You had the furry pitches at the start of the season. Then you had the shitty pitches with the wet and the mud. And then at the end of the season was the worst time because there wasn't watering systems to dampen pitches. They went bone hard and bobbly. And that's when it was bobbly. I think we had the rugby plan at that time, Rob, didn't we, as well?
Yeah,
which
we did,
probably didn't help the way that we played. We played really good, fluent football. So our best matches would have been like somewhere like Newcastle, where the pitch when that season when we won, when the pitch was fizzing, we could pass the ball about. But the pitches kind of slowed us down in the end when I think back to it. But it wasn't my fault. It's just the other 10.
Rob, over to you. Thoughts on? Give us a story. You have already given me a story.
I'm not a comedian like him, but
Okay.
Emilio and Russ, have you seen the latest YouTube video that Malcolm McDonald did recently?
No.
No.
Watch it. It's Chris. What's he called? Christy Flintoff. Something Flintoff. I arranged it with a few of the lads the other week.
Oh
Tony
yes, I've seen it. I haven't gone into. I've seen you post it.
Yeah.
Or you
Yeah.
tweet it or
That's good. That's on for an hour and a half with Malcolm McDonald.
okay.
There's me. There's Ray out, and we talk about that season in depth.
Okay.
You know, about how the season went and the Andy Thomas and the Ernie Clay and Malcolm was quite damning about Ernie Clay and what went wrong with that season, and he wasn't allowed to buy who he wanted, and he was nearly forced upon getting Andy Thomas, and he didn't really want him, and sort of stuff like that. Goes on to talk about the Derby game and the Newcastle game. It's very, very well worth a watch. I think. I don't think Tony's seen it, but a few of the lads were on it. There were a couple of.
I began watching it, and I watched it for 10 minutes and fell asleep. Rob Malcolm talked slowly, didn't he?
Just because you weren't on it, that's probably why.
No, it was all right. It was good.
Yeah, definitely, Emilio. If you're proper Fulham fans, watch it. It's definitely worth it.
I'll watch it. Okay.
Malcolm was very good in terms of his analysis, and as Gale knows, he's a little bit of a stutterer and probably still is to this day. And there was quite a few tales and stories in there, as Gale's book will allude to many a time about some tricks that him and Strong used to get up to with Malcolm and the tactics board, and many a story.
We used to because Rob's very unfunny and very serious. I'll give you another funny story. Yeah, so
please do.
Yeah, I always had to be funny with him because he's pretty boring, Rob. So since he's moved up north, he's lost his sense of humour. So so we had a coach driver called Alan Hooker who Malcolm bought from Arsenal. We just used to drive around the coaches for Arsenal, but he worked for a big firm. But he decided to go on his own, Alan Hooker, and Malcolm gave him a chance. And Alan Hooker invested the money in a coach, and he drove us around everywhere. Well, what could go wrong with Alan Hooker always went wrong. Ran out of petrol, wrong ways up the motorway, like this, that, and the other. But he had such a great character. Rob and I used to just sit up the front joking with him as he was driving along, and then he'd miss a turning on the junction, wouldn't he, Rob? And we go, weren't you supposed to turn off there? He'd go, oh, yeah, well, we go up and we go back round, He's one of them. Anyway, he had this habit of turning up for team meetings, and he used to pipe up as well. And Malcolm said, look, Alan, I want you to stay out of team meeting. You keep coming in and you just go, and he used to talk like Norman Wisdom, Rob, didn't he? Well, Malcolm, I just want to tell you, I think Robert's a little bit deep at the moment. It should have nothing to do with you, Al. Piss off, get out the team meeting. Out you go. Anyway, he drove Malcolm mad, and in the end, we had to lock him out of team meetings. But me and Strongy came up with this idea. We had the curtains at where we were in the hotel. We had a team meeting. I can't remember who it was, away from home. And we said to Alan, give us your shoes. And we put his shoes, under the curtain. So made out Alan was there, right, Anyway, Malcolm said, oh, all right, today's team. Oh, and it good, no Alan to interrupt us today. And me and Strongy kept nodding our heads towards the window where the curtains were drawn. Like, so sort of saying he's over there. And Malcolm's walking towards the curtains going, yes, and if I did catch him in here, obviously he'd be in very big trouble today. Wouldn't you? Open the curtains, and all there was a pair of shoes. Like, oh, it's so...
Oh, dear, love it.
That is too much.
Anyway, we lost that game 4-0.
Yeah. And Alan got us back.
We did it.
Oh my, that is too
we
funny.
Had so many We had two kit men, didn't we, Rob? Fred and Jerry.
Fred and Jerry Curtains, yeah.
Well, we called them Tom and Jerry. Like, they never could pump the balls up properly. Then we bought them a valve that gave them the right pressure of the air. And then we would nick the pressure of the ball off of them, and just as we're going out to kick off, we used to hide the match ball from them, and they'd go, where's the match ball? Who's mucking about? It's so funny. So funny. And Jerry, I'd just like to say, Jerry Curtin passed away recently.
Yeah, God bless his soul.
I think he was in his 90s. That was Fulham personified. He was a Fulham man through and through. He had a season ticket with his wife and his daughter, just where we ran out, and they was in that the Stevenage Road stand there, weren't they? And lovely family, went everywhere, home, away. He was the kit man. He used to do it for shirt buttons, but personified what a great football club that was, or still is actually, because you have people like that around. People make the football clubs.
Yeah, and then you still get, and both the guys will know. I mean, you still get people like Sandra Coles and you know what I mean, your ex-secretaries are watching us, home and away. I see him at games. Still, once you're a Fulham fan, you're a Fulham fan for life. Whether you're
Fulham forever, Rob.
Yeah.
You missed it. Fulham forever. See?
Yeah. Have you got yours yet?
I was lucky. I
got it against West Ham
a few years ago. Yeah. Oh, that was a great story as well. Do you want to hear that story as well, boys?
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
So we get Rob's got one. If I don't know if he played over a couple of 100 games or whatever, you got a Fulham Forever award. I saw Clive Walker was on the pitch
last week. Yeah.
Someone said he got booed last week.
Did he?
I didn't hear any boos. I didn't hear any boos.
You saw some comments on Twitter saying about he got booed.
I didn't hear any.
I didn't hear that. I thought the crowd were pretty good to him. But you get these awards. So Les Strong was one of the first recipients, and then Gordon, because they do the ambassadorial roles at Fulham. Yeah. So they're in that. And then Dave Daly, the director, asked me, he said, Tony, you're coming to the West Ham game to commentate. Would you be the next recipient? I'd love to. What an honour. Thank you very much, David. Went down on the pitch. West Ham fans were singing. That was good. Fulham fans were singing. Both ends done an interview, got me an award. And I went up to the stand. But I said to David on the pitch, I said, can you keep this trophy for me? Because I've got to get back up to the gantry. And when you come into the lounge, Leslie's lounge afterwards, come up to me with the trophy and give me an envelope padded out, like I was making out it was money, making out it was money, and give it to me. So anyway, David walked in the lounge. I was talking with Leslie. He went, Tony, you forgot your award, and they come over and he gave me the award and he said, the chairman would like to give you this as well. I went, oh, thank you very much, David. Of course, I knew nothing was in it, but I was winding Les up, wasn't I? And we're not allowed to swear here, are we? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So, Les, I've took the award away and I've gone over to a couple of my pals and I went, oh, this is fucking lovely. Look, he's only given me all this money. I can't believe it. Have a look at this. And Strongy's trying to look over my shoulder, see if there's money in there. And I've got it out and it was all padded newspapers and all that. And he thought he'd missed out. He thought I got money, but I didn't, by the way.
Oh my! Okay.
It's good that the club do all these Fulham Forevers as well. Like I said, Clive Walker. I didn't hear any booing last week. I don't know. Again, those were some of the darker days of the club, but he was so entertaining. I loved him. The amount of goals he scored, the pace he brought to the team, it was so entertaining through those darker times at the club. So I don't understand why any fans would have booed him. But
and he had a haircut like you, Emilio, as well, didn't he?
Nothing. I got a few pics on my phone of him last weekend, but. And there was the other one.
Lad, Clive. Nice lad, Clive.
Is he? I've never met him.
Yeah,
I've never met him.
It's
just great to recap. Daly's on the pitch all the time with all these old legends. It was Gary Elkins came on last season, thinking Gary Elkins. As much as he was through some dark. I mean,
we're all on a WhatsApp group. There's about 25 of us. We keep in daily contact with birthdays and banter and all that. So it's still good.
Fantastic.
I'm not so sure the current team will probably have a 25 man group when they finish their careers.
Yeah, God blimey.
It's a lot different now, isn't it? Compared to in those days, like you have all that camaraderie. You had your moments, I'm sure, off the pitch as well. I'm sure there's obviously in the dressing room, but it's just different type of game now, isn't it? It's different money at stake. It's a lot different. What would you prefer, guys? Would you prefer to play in this era of football, or did you enjoy the era back in the 80s and 90s? If you had a choice?
I prefer it when we played. Obviously I'd have loved the money, but I preferred it when we played. It was better. But I'd love to have seen the pitches today. That Fulham side that I played in was a lovely passing side, like very fluent apart from when Brownie got the ball and he kind of booted it somewhere. But apart from Brownie, we were pretty fluent. But Roger was brilliant anyway, and his other stuff that he did, wasn't he? He was our sort of talisman as well. But we played some really good football out the back of that team. We had good passes of the ball, good midfield players, good strikers. If they was playing on those pitches today, it would be incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think we'd have loved it, you know?
Yeah, just those moments. We excelled, especially that first half of the season. Newcastle away, absolutely battered them at St James's Park, didn't we, that season? We had so many great memories. Just unfortunate how things deteriorated very quickly. But the other question I was going to ask you guys is, which obviously subsequent to your career at Fulham, which manager would you think you'd have thrived under? I think, Tony, you mentioned loving to play under Marco Silva. If you had a choice, who would you prefer to have played under? Or the subsequent manager, Roy Hodgson, Silva?
Probably because of the way I played, Tigana and Silva. Roy's a great manager, and I know Roy really well as a friend. But if I was talking about the style of the teams played, I'd love to have played under Roy. But Tigana was lovely, fluent way of playing, and Marco Silva plays some lovely football as well. Yeah, they've had some ropey managers since I've left and all. Some I wouldn't have liked to have played under, but they've had some good ones, and Roy, Tigana. Yeah, and Marco Silva. Kevin Keegan was good in his own right as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say Keegan's era was quite influential to sort of players and supporters.
Had some good managers there, haven't we? But the teams that play, Robert was a footballer, what I would class as a footballer as well. So he'd have probably thrived in a footballing team that a manager, wanted to play that style of play. So I don't want to answer the question for you there, Rob. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, like you say, I would have mentioned Keegan. Tigana's team I watched when they got promoted in 2000, 2001 was a nice footballing team. And like you say, even under Jukanovic, I like the way he played. You know what I mean? He was very much a sort of silverish, wanting to play out from the back, and it was quite early for him in terms of the change of teams. So, but yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I mean, in our day, Malcolm, the best coach I ever worked under, and I was fortunate to work under him a couple of times, was Ray Harford. He was ahead of himself in terms of the diamond formation. He was the instigator in the coaching manual of implementing that in the Fulham team, in making sort of me just behind Gordon and Dixie, Ray Lou, and Sean and Ray on the right and the left, and Peter O'Sullivan before him. But so yeah, Ray went on to obviously, and Tony worked with him at Blackburn, to coach at the highest level and win the Premiership with Kenny Dalglish. So yeah, I think Ray was the best coach and manager that I ever worked with.
What was the most entertaining team that you watched, Emilio? Manager.
I think Tigana, that season we got promoted, was breathtaking.
2001.
That was an outstanding season. I loved that. Even Marco Silva, a couple of seasons ago, but I prefer the Tigana promotion side to the Silva promotion side from a couple of years ago. A bit like chalk and cheese to me. That Tigana team was breathtaking. We had plenty of goals in there. Boa Morte, Barry Hale. So just a breathtaking team to watch. Yeah, even Malcolm McDonald, the team that you guys were involved in. Even that, come on. I think just QPR, at the top of the table. They were the best team in that division. They won that division comfortably. But that was a great season for us. And we defied a lot of critics. The season we got promoted, the year before that, could have had back-to-back promotions. There's a lot of great moments, and we've had some dark moments, like you said, Tony, as well, with some of those managers in the 90s. There was Alan Dix. Brandfoot. Was it Brandfoot?
Ian Brandfoot.
That was dire. Even Paul Bracewell was dire. I remember how many nil-nils did we get in November, December? So boring. But, for me, it's a Tigana, that promotion season, I think, and that was probably my favourite. And
the striker, Saha, was brilliant, wasn't he? Louis Saha.
Amazing. And but Roy Hodgson, again, looking at it from the other side of the fence, and the fact all those great moments, he took us to a European final.
We
can't forget that, the best moments we ever had. And those players that we had on display, again, they weren't world-class players, but he got them to play to their strengths, play the certain system. We didn't rotate much, like you said, Tony. And you know, we'll never forget
that. Yeah, he had a methodical way of how he played, didn't he? 4-4-2.
Yeah, exactly.
It was very rigid.
Yeah, he's doing the same with Crystal Palace. They haven't got great players, but he's getting them to play to their strengths, and they're a difficult team to beat. They don't win many games; they're not losing many games either. And he's nearly 80 years old. Fair play to him.
He's a great man, Roy Hodgson. He's a great man. You know, very, very, very humble and nice man to speak to. And he'll talk football all day, all night long with you. He's a lovely man. But you mustn't forget our ex-teammate Ray Lou's been a big part of him.
True.
In his later years in management.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We shouldn't forget that as well. Even Martignoli, he had his critics, but that season we finished seventh or eighth. You know, that wasn't a bad team we had there. You know, he pushed on. There were moments he played some entertaining football. Mark Hughes, love him.
I was about to mention Mark Hughes. I hate to say it, Mark Hughes.
Good football.
The second half of that season, I think we were top 4 in terms of points scored from January to the end of the season. So we had a better start of the season.
That was a very good season.
You know, as much as we hate the guy, none of us, I don't personally like him, but that second half of the season, we were playing very exciting brand of football under him.
Totally agree.
Talking to Mark Hughes, I know he's got the sack, but nice to see Kevin McDonald's getting probably his first managerial role there.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
Good.
Is that permanent or an interim role? Is it permanent role?
Yeah, well, he's caretaker at the moment, but word from inside that he looks like he's going to get it.
You know, Rob, I'm glad that you mentioned Kevin McDonald because I don't think he gets mentioned enough. I think he is pivotal to Fulham's position where they are today. They don't get here without Kevin McDonald play under Slavisa.
That season with your Hansen and Tom, them three were the best 3 midfield players.
Unbelievable.
In that by a country mile.
I miss Johansson. I just love his. He was my favourite player in that team. Where is he? He's still at QPR now, but he's a Fulham legend as far as I'm concerned. Limited in his ability to the top flight, but the job he did for us, Jesus Christ! So I love the player, loved him.
Okay,
you're not a Fulham legend unless you've come up through the youth team, Emilio. You've got to come through the youth team to be one of them.
Okay, well, guys, listen. Thank you so much for doing this. We've gone a little bit long. I just want to thank everyone for joining. Tony, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Thanks, Russ. Emilio, nice to hear from you.
Nice to meet you, Tony. We'll see you again very soon and meet you at the cottage one of these days. We keep saying Robbo, don't we? Keep saying it, but we never need to make it happen at one point.
Definitely.
I think I'd definitely be commentating on the West Ham game, but hopefully get one before that because my schedules are not quite out yet. But I always love going down there. And I've got the best seat, by the way. The best seat in the ground over that other side there. What a view. I know it's expensive, but if you can afford it, buy one. Oh, what a view.
I've been that other side of the fence. Steve Reynolds went to the Norwich game, didn't he, Russ? I think
he did. He did. He sat there. He did. Very good.
Yeah, I need to go there. But yeah, we haven't talked about the ticketing prices, but yeah, a bit ridiculous. The Man United game.
That's another show, Emilio. I was hoping that we'd talk about it. Hoping we would talk about several things, but we had a lot to talk about. And Rob, as always, thank you so much for doing the show. Guys. I always love when you can do the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. No, thank you. Hopefully Gordon will be fit enough. He'll pass a fitness test for the next one, and when he's available, he might be listening in.
Well, it's funny. I feel like we are missing him because I love the banter between him and Emilio. It makes my day.
The love-hate relationship, negativity and positivity.
Exactly. Okay, well, listen, we do have to wrap up this show, and I just want to thank Rob and Tony for joining Emilio and myself, but let's wrap this up. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.